The county marshal was zip-tying a fluorescent orange eviction notice to the glass doors of Apex Innovations when my phone started buzzing. Bryce Ashford, the CEO, same guy who fired me 30 days ago after 23 years. I let it ring twice. 3 times. Picked up on the 4th. Brennan speaking. "What the hell is going on?" His voice cracked like thin ice. "There's a sheriff at our door with some kind of notice. We can't get into the building." I was sitting in my F-150 across the street, window down. September morning cool enough that I didn't need the AC, coffee in the cup holder, original brass office key sitting on the dashboard where I could see it. "What's going on," I said, keeping my voice flat, "is you forgot to renew your lease." And I didn't forget that I signed it. Silence. Then, "You can't do this." "Already did. You've got 48 hours to vacate. Property manager has the details." I hung up before he could respond. Set the phone on the passenger seat. Took a sip of coffee. It was still hot. Across the street, Bryce pushed through the front doors, read the notice, and his face went the color of old concrete. Troy Lawson, the CFO, stood behind him, already on his phone. Probably calling their lawyer. Good luck with that. Let me back up 3 weeks. That's when they fired me. Name's Calvin Brennan. Cal to anyone who's known me longer than 5 minutes. 58 years old. Spent 6 years in the Navy after high school, got out in '91, and landed at Apex in 2001, when it was 7 people working above a pizza joint. 23 years I gave that place. Built every system from the ground up. HVAC, electrical, network infrastructure, security protocols. All of it. I knew that building the way you know an old truck. Which circuit breaker tripped when someone ran the microwave and the copier at the same time? Which pipe made that knocking sound before a cold snap? Where the main shutoff was because the plumber they hired in 2015 couldn't find it without me walking him through it. The meeting invite came at 4:58 p.m. on a Friday. Subject line, brief check-in, HR. No context, no warning, just a calendar event dropped on my schedule like a rock through a windshield. I walked in Monday morning wearing my work shirt with the Apex logo on the pocket. Gray, faded from too many washes, coffee stain on the collar I'd stopped trying to remove. That shirt had survived 4 company rebrandings and 2 office renovations. It was my armor. Haley Porter from HR was already seated in conference room B, 20-something, fresh MBA, probably younger than my daughter. She smiled the way a salesman smiles when he knows you can't afford what he's selling. Next to her sat Troy Lawson. Slicked hair, expensive watch, folder in front of him that he kept tapping like it contained launch codes. "Cal, thanks for coming in." Haley's voice had that corporate smoothness. "We wanted to discuss some organizational changes." I'd heard that phrase before, helped other people pack their desks after hearing it. Covered their shifts. The script never changed. Smile first, then the folder, then the apology that wasn't really an apology. Bryce walked in from the hallway, phone still pressed to his ear. 42 years old, Stanford MBA, 3rd CEO I'd worked under. He barely glanced at me before sitting down. "We're moving in a new direction," Bryce said, ending his call. "Streamlining operations." I looked at him. That direction wouldn't happen to include me, would it? Troy slid the folder across the table. Inside, a severance package with more fine print than a prescription bottle. 3 months' pay. NDA. Health insurance through end of month. The letter at the top spelled my name wrong. Mark Brennan. 23 years, and they couldn't get that right. "We're asking for your badge and keys today," Troy said. His voice had all the warmth of a parking meter. "Any company property in your possession." I took a breath deep enough to fog glass, reached into my pocket, set the badge on the table, then the keys. All 14 of them, each one labeled in my own handwriting from 2001. Back when I stayed late to reprogram the electronic locks myself because the installer was 3 weeks behind schedule. "You sure about this?" I asked. Bryce finally looked at me. "It's not personal. Never is." I stood up. "Just remember one thing. You can't fire what you never understood." I walked out. Didn't slam the door. Didn't raise my voice. Just walked. The sun hit me like a slap when I got outside. Street noise buzzed around me, but everything felt muffled, like I was underwater. I didn't cry. After 23 years of fixing their problems, training their people, staying late when everyone else went home, they wanted to forget me. Fine, but they'd forgotten too much. I didn't drive home. Pulled into a Dunkin' lot 3 blocks away, killed the engine, and sat there. Then I called Lenny Reeves. Lenny and I went back 15 years, met him at a volunteer thing for disabled vets, stayed friends. He ran a real estate law practice now. Good one. I'd had him look into something for me 6 months ago. Call it paranoia. Call it preparation. Either way, I was glad I did it. He picked up on the second ring. Cal, how'd it go? They fired me. A pause. So we're doing this? I looked at the Apex building in my rearview mirror. All those windows, all that expensive glass, all those people inside who had no idea what was about to hit them. Yeah, I said, we're doing this. 6 months ago, I'd asked Lenny to pull the original lease documents. Not because I expected to get fired, because after 23 years, you develop instincts. And mine were screaming. Tell me about the lease again, Lenny said that day over coffee at the diner near his office. The one from 2001. I'd stirred my coffee, watching the cream spiral. Walt Ferguson needed someone with decent credit to sign. Company had 7 employees and a fax machine. No bank would touch them. I put my name on it. As co-signer? As the lessee. Only name on the contract. Lenny had looked up from his legal pad. Cal, that's not co-signing. That's you renting the space and letting them use it. Yeah, well, Walt said it was temporary, just until they got on their feet. Did you ever transfer it? I'd shaken my head. Kept meaning to, but every renewal came around and I was the one who handled it anyway. Property manager Thomas Palmer, he only dealt with me. Guess it never seemed important. Lenny had made notes. This could be important. Let me research the terms. That was February. Now it was September and turned out Lenny was right. Back in 2001, none of us knew Apex would become what it did. We were just trying to survive. Walt Ferguson had a software idea and enough charisma to convince 7 people to work for equity and hope. I was 35, recently out of a divorce, needed something to do besides sit in my apartment. Walt hired me to handle facilities, which meant everything nobody else wanted to do. Wiring, plumbing, fixing the ancient HVAC unit that sounded like a helicopter landing. I didn't mind. I was good with my hands. Navy taught me that. You learn to fix things when you're on a ship and the nearest repair shop is 1,000 miles away. I built that place from bare walls, pulled every Ethernet cable myself, installed the server racks, programmed the thermostats. When we finally got venture funding in 2004 and moved to the Meridian Tower building, I coordinated the entire move, packed every box, labeled every cable, made sure nothing got lost. The company grew. Walt brought in professional management. First CEO lasted 3 years, second one made it 5. Then came Bryce in 2019 and things started changing. Sarah died that year. My wife, cancer, fast and mean. 6 months from diagnosis to funeral. The company sent flowers to the service. Generic arrangement, card signed by HR. 3 people showed up. Dan Cortez from facilities. Thomas Palmer from building management. And 1 intern whose name I can't remember, kid who I'd helped fix his car in the parking lot once. Bryce didn't come. Sent an email 2 days later. Sorry for your loss. Take the time you need. I took 3 days. Came back to work because sitting in an empty house was worse. Nobody mentioned it again. Life moved on. Company kept growing. I kept showing up, kept fixing things, kept being invisible. December 2022, company holiday party. Rented out some restaurant downtown. Open bar, catered food, big screen showing company highlights. Bryce gave a speech thanking the leadership team for an incredible year. Went through names one by one. VP of Engineering, VP of Sales, CFO, Head of Product, Head of Marketing. I was standing 10 feet from the stage. He looked right past me. After the speech, I went home. Didn't stay for dinner. March 2023, I was in the server room replacing a failed cooling fan when my email dinged. Message from Troy Lawson to the CFO, accidentally CC'd to a facilities distribution list. Subject, Q2 cost reduction targets. I opened it. Recommend outsourcing facilities management. Current model is legacy overhead. Market rate for outsourced $8K a month versus Brennan's fully loaded cost, $12K a month. Additional benefit? Removes institutional knowledge dependency. Legacy overhead. That's what 23 years got you. A line item to be optimized. I forwarded the email to my personal account. Didn't say anything to anyone, just filed it away. That's when I called Lenny, asked him to review the lease, started thinking about exit strategies. I wasn't being paranoid, I was being prepared. Now, sitting in that Dunkin' parking lot with Lenny on the phone, I pulled out my phone and opened the file folder I'd been building. "I need you to check something," I told Lenny. "Lease renewal deadline." "When was it?" I heard him typing. "Says here 30 days before expiration. Lease expires August 1st every year, so they needed to notify by July 1st. And if they don't, converts to month-to-month tenancy. Either party can terminate with 30 days notice." I felt something shift in my chest. Not quite a smile, something colder. Did they submit notice this year? More typing. "Let me check with Thomas." "No. Nothing in the system. He says he assumed they were going month to month while negotiating new terms. So I can terminate it. As the lessee." "Technically, yes. But Cal, this is nuclear. You'd be evicting your own employer." "Former employer," I corrected. "They fired me this morning." Long silence on the other end. Then Lenny's voice changed, became sharper, more focused. "Do you have another tenant lined up?" I did, actually. Natalie Kruger. I'd met her 4 months ago at a farmer's market. She ran a wellness startup called Bloom Pulse. Meditation apps, corporate wellness programs, that kind of thing. They'd just closed a funding round and needed office space downtown. She'd mentioned it while buying organic tomatoes. I'd given her my number. "If you need help finding a place, I know the market." We'd stayed in touch. I'd toured her around a few buildings, learned what she was looking for, learned what she could afford. Last week, before the firing, I'd sent her a casual text. That space I mentioned in Meridian Tower might open up. "Interested?" She'd replied within an hour. "Absolutely. What's the rent?" Current lease was $5,100 a month. Market rate was around $15,000. I'd told her $16,500. She'd agreed immediately. "Yeah," I told Lenny. "I've got a tenant. Then we need to move fast. I'll draft the termination notice today. You need to notify Thomas officially. Then we file the eviction petition." I looked at the Apex building in my mirror, all those windows reflecting September sun. How long until they're out? 30 days from notice. But Cal, they're going to fight this. Let them. They forgot to renew. That's not my problem. It's going to get ugly. I thought about that email, legacy overhead. I thought about Sarah's funeral, 3 people. I thought about Bryce's speech, looking right past me like I was a ghost. "Good," I said. "I'm done being nice." Lenny had the paperwork ready by Thursday. I drove to his office in the late afternoon, signed everything at his conference table. The forms were clean, clinical, cold as January steel. Plaintiff, Calvin Brennan. Defendant, Apex Innovations LLC. Current occupant of Suites 201-221, Meridian Tower. Grounds: failure to renew lease agreement per Section 7B, unauthorized subletting of premises, material breach of rental terms. That last part was a bonus I'd discovered. They'd been renting 2 back offices to some cryptocurrency operation. Mining rigs running 24/7, pulling enough power to trip breakers twice a month. I'd been resetting them, fixing the overloads, never got told why. Never got paid extra for it either. "You're sure about this?" Lenny asked, pen hovering over the notary section. I signed my name. Clear, firm strokes. "I'm sure." He notarized it, filed it electronically with the county court, paid extra for expedited processing. The confirmation email hit my phone with a satisfying ping. "They'll be served tomorrow morning," Lenny said. "County marshal will post the notice on their door. You'll get a copy via certified mail. How long do they have?" 30 days from posting. September 2nd to October 2nd. If they're not out by then, Sheriff's Department handles physical eviction. I stood up, shook his hand. "Thanks, Lenny. Cal, one more thing. They're going to come after you. Lawyers, probably the board. Maybe try to settle, maybe threaten to sue. You need to be ready for that." I picked up my copy of the filing. Let them come. Next morning, I called Thomas Palmer. He managed the Meridian Tower building, had for 12 years. Good guy. Former Air Force. We'd always gotten along. "Thomas, it's Cal Brennan." "Cal, hey. Sorry to hear about Apex. That was rough. Word traveled fast in property management circles." "Yeah, well, that's why I'm calling. You're going to get some paperwork today. Eviction notice for Suites 201-2221. Silence on the other end. Then, "You're evicting them?" "They missed renewal. I'm exercising my rights as lessee." "Jesus, Cal, this is going to be a mess." "Probably. But I've got a replacement tenant ready to go. Bloom Pulse. They'll pay $16,500 a month, triple net 5-year contract. Natalie Kruger's the CEO. She'll contact you this afternoon. More silence. I could hear him processing. Does Apex know yet? They will in about an hour. Cal, they're going to fight this. Let them. Lease is clear. They didn't renew. That's not my fault. He sighed. All right. I'll handle it on our end. But you should know this is going to get ugly. Already is ugly. I'm just making it official. I hung up and poured myself more coffee. Stood at my kitchen window looking out at nothing in particular. The sky was clear. September sun warming everything up. Felt like a good day. My phone buzzed. Text from Dan Cortez. Emergency meeting just got called. All hands. Something's happening. I texted back. Keep me posted. 20 minutes later. Holy shit, Cal. Eviction notice on the front door. Orange paper, zip tied to the handles. CEO is losing it. I allowed myself a small smile. Another text. They're in conference room. Yelling. Can hear it from the hall. Then, Troy just said your name. Not good things. I sat down at my kitchen table, opened my laptop, checked my email. Nothing yet from Apex. But there was one from Thomas, forwarding the official notification. Per our conversation, attached is confirmation of lease termination for suites 201-2221. New tenant, Bloom Pulse. Will take occupancy October 3rd. Please coordinate move out accordingly. Professional, clean, no emotion. That's when my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. The voicemail was Haley Porter. Her voice had lost all that corporate smoothness. Cal, this is Haley from Apex. We need to talk. There's been some kind of mistake with the building lease. Can you please call me back? It's urgent. I deleted the voicemail, poured more coffee. Another text from Dan. They're calling lawyers. Bryce is on the phone with someone from legal. Troy keeps saying, how did we miss this? Me. Because nobody paid attention. Dan. Dude, they're freaking out. Like actual panic. Never seen anything like it. 5 minutes later, my phone rang again. This time it was a number I recognized. Apex main line. I answered. Brennan. Cal. It's Bryce. His voice was tight. Controlled. The kind of control that comes from barely holding it together. We need to talk about this lease situation. Nothing to talk about. You fired me. I terminated the lease. 30 days notice, per the contract. Cal, be reasonable. We can work something out. We'll increase your severance. Double it. And we'll make sure your name is on the new lease. Full recognition. Don't need your severance. And I don't want my name on your lease. What do you want then? I leaned back in my chair. Nothing you can give me. You had 23 years to recognize what I did for that company. You chose not to. That's on you. This is going to hurt a lot of people, Cal. Good people who had nothing to do with your termination. That almost got me. Almost. But then I remembered that holiday party. Bryce thanking everyone but me. Sarah's funeral. 3 people. Troy's email. Legacy overhead. Yeah, I said. It probably will. But you know what hurt? Getting fired after 23 years with my name spelled wrong on the paperwork. So I guess we're even. We can fight this. We have lawyers. So do I. And mine says you missed your renewal deadline. That's not something lawyers can fix. The board won't let this stand. The board, I said, should have paid attention to who actually ran their building. Have a good day, Bryce. I hung up, blocked the number. My phone buzzed. Another text from Dan. They're offering you your job back. Full back pay. Promotion to VP of Operations. I stared at that message for a long moment. VP of Operations. Title. I should have had a decade ago. I texted back. Too late. Dan, you're really doing this? Me. Already done. Another call came through, this time from a 415 area code, San Francisco. Probably their board or their lawyers. I sent it to voicemail. Didn't listen to the message. That afternoon, Natalie Kruger called. Cal, I just spoke with Thomas Palmer. Everything's confirmed for October 3rd. This is really happening. It's happening. I know this is probably a difficult situation for you, she said. But I want you to know, we'll take good care of that space. I know you will. That's why I called you. Thomas mentioned you might be interested in some consulting work. Building systems orientation, that kind of thing. We'd pay well. I looked around my kitchen. Quiet house, empty rooms, nothing but time ahead of me. Yeah, I said. I might be interested in that. Great. Let's talk after we're settled in. After she hung up, I walked out to my garage workshop, flipped on the lights. The space smelled like sawdust and motor oil. My workbench was covered in tools, organized the way I liked them, everything in its place. On the bench sat an unfinished bookshelf, maple wood, dovetail joints. I'd started it 2 months ago for my daughter Allison's new apartment. Been too busy with work to finish it, not busy anymore. I picked up my sanding block, turned on the radio, classic rock station, same one I'd listened to since the 80s. The wood was smooth under my hands. The work was good, clean, honest. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. October 2nd arrived like any other Tuesday. Clear sky, temperature in the mid-60s, light traffic on the interstate. I drove downtown around 9 in the morning, parked 2 blocks from Meridian Tower, and walked to the coffee shop across the street. Ordered a black coffee. Found a seat by the window. Waited. The moving truck showed up at 9:30. 2 U-Hauls, both looking like they'd seen better days. One had a cracked taillight. Someone had taped a piece of printer paper to the side that said, "Strategic Relocation" in corporate font. I almost laughed. Almost. Employees started filing out with boxes. Herman Miller chairs. Monitors. That expensive espresso machine that had caused me so many headaches. Everything that made Apex look like a successful tech company, now being loaded into rental trucks like a failed garage sale. Haley Porter stood on the sidewalk in oversized sunglasses, phone pressed to her ear, probably calling moving companies, storage facilities, anyone who could help. She looked smaller than I remembered, less confident, more human. Troy Lawson directed traffic, pointing at trucks, checking things off on an iPad. His suit was wrinkled, hair not as slicked back as usual. Stress does that to people. Then Bryce came out. Tan suit, sweat stains under the arms despite the cool weather. Face red, jaw tight. He was carrying a box, set it down hard on the sidewalk, said something to Troy I couldn't hear. Troy said something back. Bryce's face got redder. What happened next I didn't expect. Bryce picked up a folding chair from the pile of furniture waiting to be loaded, held it for a second, then threw it at the U-Haul. The chair hit the side of the truck with a hollow metal clang that echoed off the buildings, bounced off, clattered on the pavement. Everyone froze. Employees, Troy, Haley. Even the guys loading the truck stopped mid-lift. Someone across the street pulled out their phone, started recording. Bryce stood there, breathing hard, looking at the chair on the ground like he couldn't believe what he'd just done. I sipped my coffee, watched, didn't feel triumphant, didn't feel vindicated, just felt tired. 23 years of work, and this is how it ended, with a grown man throwing furniture on a public street. I finished my coffee and left before anyone noticed me. By that afternoon, the video was everywhere. Twitter, LinkedIn, TechCrunch. Someone had captioned it, "When your office karma hits harder than your Series B funding." The comments were brutal. Did they evict him or unplug his ego? New leadership strategy. Throw chairs, ask questions later. Someone tell this man that furniture can't negotiate lease terms. I didn't share it, didn't comment, just watched the numbers climb. 10,000 views, 50,000, 100,000. My phone rang that evening. Number I didn't recognize, left it alone. The voicemail was from a reporter. Business Journal, wanted a statement. I deleted it. Another call came through an hour later. This one I recognized. Allison, my daughter. I picked up. "Hey kiddo, Dad, I saw the news about Apex." I walked out to the back porch, sat down on the steps. "Yeah, you evicted them, your whole company, former company, and yeah, I did." Silence on her end. Then, "Good." I blinked. "Good? Dad, I remember when Mom died. You told me 3 people from work showed up to the funeral. 3 people, after 23 years. I remember you coming home from that holiday party early, not saying anything, just going straight to the garage. I knew something was wrong. I'd forgotten she'd noticed that. It was work stuff, nothing important. It was important enough to make you quit talking for 3 days. Her voice got quieter. "You gave them everything, Dad. They gave you nothing back. So yeah. Good. I'm glad you stood your ground." Something in my chest loosened, something I didn't know had been tight. "Thanks, Allie. You free for dinner Sunday? I want to hear the whole story. Real version, not the internet version. I'd like that. And Dad, I'm proud of you." After we hung up, I sat on those porch steps for a while, watched the sun go down, thought about everything that had happened. The firing, the lease, the eviction, Bryce throwing that chair. None of it felt like winning. Not really. Just felt like closing a door that should have been closed a long time ago. Sunday dinner with Allison was good. We went to that Italian place she likes, the one with the bread that's too good and the portions that are too big. She asked questions. I answered them. Told her about the lease, about Lenny, about Thomas Palmer and the missed deadline. You planned this, she said. 6 months ago, you knew. I suspected. There's a difference. Dad, that's the same thing. Maybe it was. Maybe I'd been preparing for this ending longer than I wanted to admit. Maybe some part of me knew it was coming. The bookshelf's almost done, I told her. Should have it finished by next weekend. Her face lit up. Really? I thought you'd forgotten about it. Didn't forget, just had to deal with some things first. The following Wednesday, Bloom Pulse moved into suites 201-221. Natalie called me that afternoon, asked if I could come by to walk her through the building systems, show her where everything was. I drove downtown, parked in the same spot I'd parked 1,000 times before, walked into Meridian Tower, took the elevator to the second floor. The doors to the suite were propped open. Inside, young people in startup casual were unpacking boxes, hanging motivational posters, setting up desks. Everything smelled like fresh paint and optimism. Natalie met me at the door. Cal, thank you for coming. We could really use your expertise. I spent 2 hours walking her through everything. HVAC controls, circuit breakers, network panel, thermostat quirks, where the main water shutoff was, which pipes made noise, which breaker controlled what, all the things I'd built, all the knowledge I'd accumulated over 23 years. I gave it to someone who'd actually listen. When I was done, Natalie walked me to the door. I know this space meant something to you. I promise we'll take care of it. I know you will, I said. That's why I called you. I drove home, got out of the truck, stood in the driveway for a moment looking at my house. Small, quiet, mine. Inside, I walked to the hallway. The brass key I'd saved, the original one from 2001, was sitting on the side table where I'd left it. I picked it up, felt the weight of it, all those years in my hand. Then I walked to the workshop, found a small shadow box I'd been meaning to use for something, mounted the key inside with the old Apex logo I'd kept from my first day, added a small printed card, built 2001-2024, foundation work, C. Brennan. I hung it on the workshop wall, next to the pictures of Allison as a kid, my discharge papers from the Navy, and a photo of Sarah and me from our wedding. Not a trophy, just a marker. This is what I built. This is what it cost. This is where it ended. The bookshelf for Allison's apartment sat on the workbench, nearly complete. Just needed final sanding and a coat of finish. I picked up my sanding block, turned on the radio, got back to work. The wood was smooth under my hands, the music was good, the coffee was hot. Outside, the sun was setting. Inside, my workshop smelled like sawdust and possibility. I'd built that company from nothing, kept it running for 23 years. And when they forgot what I was worth, I took back what was mine. Not with anger, not with revenge, just with the same quiet competence I'd always had. They wanted company property returned. I gave it back, all of it. The building, the keys, the knowledge, everything. Just not the way they expected. I ran my hand over the bookshelf's smooth surface. This would last. This would be appreciated. This would go to someone who knew what it took to build something with your own hands. Same as that lease. Same as that building. 23 years I gave them. Took 30 days to take it back. Fair trade.